Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Dynasty Discord stages. It is the trade block. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined as I am on the first Tuesday of every month by Pat Fitzmaurice. Fitz, I was not here last month because it was the day before I had foot surgery. So it's been 2 months since I've gotten to kind of touch base with you about some Dynasty trade value chart conversations specifically, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's okay, Worm. Nothing much has changed at all in the Dynasty landscape over the last month, so nothing to see here.
I guess technically the last time I did this, I don't think the season had started yet, right? It would have been the first Tuesday of September, which would have been before the season. So this is the first time, and we're already into the second half of the season, which feels kind of crazy. We're into the double-digit weeks here, and the first time we mentioned Dynasty on the other shows on occasion, but first time that you and I are specifically going into a show with Dynasty in mind. So looking forward to going through some of these changes here in the last month together. From a high level view, Fitz, just because I wasn't with you last month, since the season began, do you feel like it's largely been a positive year in terms of dynasty values or negative? Do you feel like you had more players gain value or more players lose value so far in the first 2 months of the season?
Just instinctively, I would have to take inventory, but it feels like we've had more gainers. A lot of pleasant surprises, I would say. And people, I whiffed on like Jaxson Dart, who has been such a pleasant surprise and looks like he's going to be a super flex quarterback anchor for people for years to come. So, there have definitely been some hits, some major value losses, but I think for the most part, it's been positive.
Let's start off the conversation at quarterback. And by the way, everybody can find, we update at the first of every month, the entire single, throughout the year, not just in season, but the first of every month, we update the Dynasty Trade Value Chart on FantasyPros.com. You can easily just Google Fantasy Pros Dynasty Trade Value Chart and find it on there as well, through Google if you want to. But we have it here up on the site. There are also draft pick values. So we have 2026 and 2027 rookie draft pick values there if you're making trades with those picks in mind. But the quarterback position is where we usually start. And I want to start with Jaxson Dart because you already mentioned him here. And Dart is somebody that I missed on in terms of I wasn't high enough before the season, like you are saying about yourself. I do feel like maybe it's a little bit high, and this is a collaborative effort between you and other folks, Fitz, so this is not strictly your ranking. He is the 9th most valuable quarterback in our current rankings here on the updated Dynasty Trade Value Chart. That feels like a bit much to me. For example, the 3 names after him are Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix. And, Nix is somebody that I didn't love going into last season, but coming off of last season, Caleb's pedigree, and he's had some real spike weeks, although he's also had some down weeks. And just Jordan Love has generally looked, fantasy-wise, maybe hasn't been like the perfect quarterback this year, but I think has looked like just a very good quarterback this year. It's hard for me to put Dart just a couple of games in ahead of all 3 of them. I know the running has been there. It's still early. He doesn't really have anybody to pass to except for Neighbors, who he obviously doesn't have this year, but even just in general long-term, that's really the only guy there. Skattebo also coming off a season injury, so what do the weapons look like next year? I just get a little nervous putting him ahead of names like Love, Caleb, Bo Nix. But I get that he should have moved up. I guess it's just the degree to which he's moved up that has me a little hesitant.
I get it. I think he's going to be a lot better than Nix. Like I'm not, to me, Nix just doesn't even factor into that conversation, honestly. Nix is averaging 6.1 yards per attempt this year. That's like almost backup level. Like he's had a couple sort of spike games or spike quarters, as in when they were playing the Giants and he had that wild comeback. Like I was more excited about Bo Nix coming into this year than I am right now. Like I'm not that high on him anymore. But I get it with Love and Caleb. What I would argue with Caleb versus Jaxson Dart is basically scoring the same amount of fantasy points, if not more than Caleb right now, with a far worse supporting cast, like terrible wide receivers, whereas Caleb has Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. Worse offensive line. The Bears' offensive line has been fantastic for the last month. Like Dart has just impressed me with how resourceful he is and how willing a runner he is. Now, maybe that's not the best business model long term because it's going to open him up to more hits. But boy, I just Whereas there are games where, and I'm here in the Chicago area where I watch Caleb. Times I watch him and he looks terrific, and you see why the Bears spent the number 1 pick on him, and other times where you just wonder if he is ever going to live up to the potential. And,
I guess,
Love, and I understand with Love, it's a debate for sure.
I was just going to say, like, I guess I just get nervous when we've only have a handful of games in a guy's career. And Jaxson Dart has played, 6 full games so far. He has a rushing touchdown in 5 of those 6 games. I get nervous about, like, how sustainable that is. Because, like, yes, if you look at just strictly the game log in terms of his scoring, QB 11, QB 16, QB 3, QB 3, QB 13, QB 7, and that's against some really tough defenses, that looks awesome. But when that is so propped up by you're getting like a free extra 6 points every single week from that rushing touchdown, if that well dries up, that makes me nervous. Now, maybe that well doesn't dry up, and maybe he is a very poor man's version of Josh Allen who just like is going to score rushing touchdowns regularly. That could be the case. I mean, he looks like the type of player that could do that, like just the way, like you said, his willingness to run, not even just his ability, but like he's very willing to tuck in and run, especially near the goal line. But I just get nervous about if that dries up, then all of a sudden, again, I'm not saying he shouldn't have moved up. I'm not saying he's not going to be a very valuable super flex quarterback going forward, but he's currently ranked as like a halfway decent, QB, a 1 QB format dynasty quarterback. And I just feel nervous about that.
That's fair. And, he is basically playing quarterback the way he did at Ole Miss, where it's one read. If it's not there, take off and run. I agree that's not the way to play over time, and I don't think that's how Brian Daboll is going to develop him. But right now, in fairness to Jaxson Dart, his top 2 wide receivers are Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton. Like, he is really shorthanded. No Malik Neighbors. Lost his buddy and his top running back in Cam Skattebo. Like, he's going to get Neighbors back next year. They're probably going to add to that wide receiver room. Things might look different, and hopefully Dart's game looks a little bit different. With some of the running, we're still going to get rushing value out of Jaxson Dart no matter what. But hopefully he looks to be – we want him to play the way Drake Maye plays. Like, Drake Maye is still looking to pass even when he's running around. But sometimes he'll take off and run and add rushing value to our fantasy teams. But Drake Maye has been a passer first. So hopefully Dart can be more Maye-like next year.
It's funny, I was going to mention Maye briefly. He's currently the 5th highest ranked QB in this. He moved up a little. Like, quite frankly, just given what we've seen out of him with his supporting cast and the age difference between the folks ahead, like, I think you could make a cogent argument for him as the most valuable dynasty quarterback right now. I would not make that argument, but I think he's closer to tier 1 than he is to this like Hurts, Maye, Mahomes group that's kind of after tier 1. And like, I think there is a coherent argument to be made that given the age and what we've seen and the fact that his supporting cast should get better, that Maye is the guy. Like, obviously if you're in win now mode, you'd rather have Allen or Lamar, but like just in a vacuum, I think there's an argument for Maye as high as number 1. That, I mean, and you and I, of course, were as high as anybody on him coming into the season. So we are kind of sitting back and smoking our cigars and just raking in the rewards of being early and high on Drake Maye. And so he just looks great. I don't think we need to talk more about him, but just in general, like, wanted to note that like he continues to move up here.
Unfortunately, the rankings of Derek Brown and Andrew Erickson also contribute to this trade value chart. So that sort of, trust me, I have Drake Maye ranked higher than QB5 in Dynasty.
He's tied with Jalen Hurts in this value, and I not a knock on Jalen Hurts, but I would rather have Drake Maye.
I don't think it's close either myself.
Yeah. Looking further down, the other name that I wanted to highlight at quarterback before we move off the position, just Daniel Jones. Like, he moves up 7, kind of value points in QB1 formats, 17 in super flex formats for us. He's up to QB 17 in value. Maybe I was going to say maybe it's aggressive. Just looking at some of the names behind him, it would have been surprising before the season, of course, to see names like J.J. McCarthy, Cam Ward, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Sam Darnold, Michael Penix Jr., Kyler Murray, Justin Fields are all behind him. But he has been very good. It is possible that he turns back into a pumpkin, but it looks less likely every week, although he didn't have his best week against Pittsburgh here this past weekend. I just feel like I don't know. I guess let me ask you, because I'd rather, instead of sharing my opinion, I want to get your opinion. Are we far enough into this performance this season that you are a believer like that? Yes, this is a like guy that you are confident in being a super flex starter for you beyond this season, because Dynasty, you do have to be thinking beyond this year, or is this still like a miraculous 2025? Like it's almost like a Linsanity run, and let's just see when the other shoe drops and the clock strikes midnight.
That's kind of it. If we had talked about this ranking before the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you could have questioned me on whether this was high enough for Daniel Jones. So right now, I think, Worm, we have just taken the souffle out of the oven, and it is settling. We do not want to touch it. We do not want to cut into it. I think we'll have a better handle on Daniel Jones' dynasty value in a few weeks or at the end of the season. Now, I know that doesn't do good for the people who are contemplating trading for or trading away Daniel Jones, but right now he's kind of a hard guy to get a read on.
Well, here's what I would say about Jones, and then we'll move off quarterback. The Colts just traded away 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner earlier today, Fitz. That is not a move you make if you are expecting to try and fix quarterback. Like, you need first-round picks to solve that position. It's very unlikely to find somebody in free agency, even though they seem to have struggled on Jones. Like, that is the move of a team that thinks Jones or Richardson is their quarterback for the long haul, and it's certainly, you can't really make the argument for Richardson right now. So, like, that trade to me speaks very highly of Shane Steichen and that front office's opinion of Daniel Jones.
Yep. It shows a commitment for sure.
By now, most of you have probably heard of Reality Sports Online, the powerful fantasy sports platform where owners get to build and manage their fantasy team like an NFL general manager. But the question is, have you tried it? It's time to go see what all the buzz in the Dynasty community is about. Free agency, multi-year contracts, a rookie draft, multi-team trades, franchise tags, contract extensions, first-round rookie options, automated contract and salary cap functionality, and much, much more. Think it sounds complicated? It's not. The best thing about Reality Sports Online fantasy front office is that it doesn't take any more time than a standard league. It just requires more strategy. Think you're among the fantasy elite? Well, this is the platform to test your mettle. Still not sure? You can test out your general manager skills for free in a mock free agency auction. If you like what you see, use promo code FantasyPros to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. That's promo code FantasyPros to receive a 10% discount on your team or league today. Fantasy just got real at realitysportsonline.com. All right, Fitz, let's go.
By the way, Worm.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, really enjoying our in-house, our listener league for Reality Sports Online right now.
Oh, yeah. How is that going? Actually, yeah, it's a great call.
I've got a league best 7-2 record. So far, It's been going pretty good. I kind of spent up at quarterback. Well, unfortunately, Jayden Daniels was one of my quarterbacks. But I do have him. I'll have him next year, too. And I got Matthew Stafford as a backup. So I have Mahomes and Stafford in a super flex league. And
Daniel's not 100% out for the year, right? They said... it is non-throwing elbow, so maybe if you make a playoff run in this league, you can get him back.
Exactly.
We'll see.
I'm hoping to get him back for the playoffs.
Yeah. So you did lean into a win now team then.
It is kind of win now, but there's a little bit of youth.
Yeah,
I was suffering with TreVeyon Henderson for a while, so but maybe that'll pay off yet.
Yeah. Well, speaking of TreVeyon, talk about some running backs here. I am not sure what kind of conversation you guys had last month on him after his first month of the year, but we're now 2 months into this kind of frustrating campaign for Henderson. He's now RB16 in this Dynasty trade value chart. He dropped from about the RB12-ish range, it looks like, if you look at the numerical values here. I think most of the names ahead of him, it's like pretty clear and understandable why they are ahead of him. The one that maybe would raise eyebrows, again, from the Dynasty perspective, not from the redraft perspective, is the guy right ahead of him at RB15, Javonte Williams, who has had this real resurgence in Dallas. He's been, what we talked about his upside scenario being for this year, which is the clear only usable back in the backfield of a very explosive, fun offense. And it's really panned out that way. So he's jumped up a ton. He's jumped up from about the RB24-ish range. And that was, again, just from already a month into the season. He was even lower before then. But for right now, when you compare a guy like Javonte Williams versus TreVeyon Henderson, what do you think about? Because it's not like Javonte's that old. He just has been around a while because he came into the league pretty young and then had the injury stuff. So a guy like Javonte versus TreVeyon at RB15, RB16, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so I actually have that reversed in my personal rankings. I do have TreVeyon ranked a little bit higher, but Javonte has been really good, really durable. He's handled a big load and has had no even minor maladies this year. And yeah, like you said, he's 25 and a half. So Javonte, 25 and a half is prime for running back. You're in your prime, but he's got another couple of seasons before we have to worry about him hitting the downslope. But it's nice because this is the Javonte Williams we hoped we would see eventually back when he was buried. Well, not buried, but splitting time with Melvin Gordon in Denver, and everyone was mad about it and wanted Javonte to get the full run out. So he's getting the full run out, and it's been pretty spectacular, but still have hopes for TreVeyon Henderson. They're forced to use him more now with Ramondre Stevenson on the shelf, and it seems like they are running him more outside, which Josh McDaniels wasn't doing enough of early in the season. I mean, get this guy on the edges because that is his bread and butter. And, they were just kind of slamming him between the tackles early in the year. So I think they're starting to figure out what the more optimal usage is for Trey.
Nobody cares about, us going too deep on the guys at the very top of this list. We all know who the best running backs in Dynasty are. I do find it noticeable that Jahmyr Gibbs is now almost, he's not quite, he's almost closer to Jonathan Taylor at RB3 than he is to Bijan at RB1. There is like a noticeable gap between Bijan and Gibbs. I've kind of considered them as just like an easy 1A, 1B in Dynasty, and then a gap after that. Was that you, or was that Debro and Erickson that was kind of leading into maybe widening that gap? Just a small amount, but noticeable.
Yeah, I guess I was involved in that. Like we have the David Montgomery obstacle for Jahmyr Gibbs. I suppose Tyler Algier gets some run for the Falcons too, but I feel like there are weeks where Gibbs is not like a major part of the game plan, or he kind of gets scripted out. And we saw that a little bit last week with the Lions loss to the Vikings, whereas Bijan pretty much gets 15 touches plus every game. Maybe that's the difference. Yeah, Gibbs is wildly talented and he does it a little bit more sporadically, I think, than Bijan does it. Like I would have no issues with Gibbs being maybe a little closer than this, but yeah, to me, I don't see them as interchangeable though. If you ask me this guy or this guy, I would definitely want Bijan. Wouldn't you?
I agree. I agree that Bijan is number one. Like I don't, but I see them in the same tier, even if I would rank Bijan ahead.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's less that there's a gap between them and more like I feel like Gibbs is closer to Bijan than he is to anybody else, I guess is the way I would frame it, which is technically true in the chart, but that gap widened and it's almost not true. So I wanted to bring it up because I found it interesting. But of course, everybody's really happy who has those guys. One guy that everybody who, probably traded nothing for him or picked him up off waivers or whatever, but has made managers very happy, Rico Dowdle. He has the largest leap of anybody in trade value in this edition of the chart. He goes up from about the RB 68, 69 range all the way up to RB 30 is where he's at now. He's in range with guys like the aforementioned David Montgomery, Zach Charbonnet, Woody Marks. Those are the three names ahead of Dowdle. And then Bill Krosky, Merritt, Chuba Hubbard, Bashal Tootin are the three names behind him. Very large leap. Obvious why. I mean, he's looked awesome. I guess the question for Dowdle, there's two. It's A, does he keep it up? Like, obviously he's not going to be rushing for 200 yards a game, but like to some degree, does he keep it up? And B, will the opportunity kind of maintain at this level to allow him to provide and produce for fantasy managers?
It seems like it's going to maintain. It's interesting. So he signed a 1-year deal very cheaply with the Panthers before the start of the season, and now he's going to be free agent. And whereas he found pretty tepid interest on the market last time he hit free agency, I think there's going to be more interest in Rico this time around because he has just been the engine for this Panthers offense. I mean, they just beat the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay on a day where Rico ran for more yards than Bryce Young threw for. Rico was kind of the offense in that game for the Panthers. So the only thing is, he's 27. He's an absolute win now piece for sure. I don't know if he's going to be a building block, but he should have some value somewhere next year. And I wonder if the Panthers might try to extend him. Maybe not, considering they gave Chuba Hubbard the big contract extension last offseason. So like they're kind of financially committed to Chuba. I don't know if they can tie up that much money in running backs. They still have Jonathan Brooks on IR. I don't know if his career is ever going to get traction in the NFL now that he's torn his ACL twice, but pretty interesting. Like that, he's going to be a major free agent story come March for us.
Yeah, it'll be very fascinating to see what ends up happening there. I did want to ask just one more running back question. Cam Skattebo, what do you do with a guy like this who has looked awesome, whose value had risen a bunch and was very fun and just one of these stories of the season, and then has this, not just an injury, but like a gruesome, tough to watch injury that is out for the year? You have guys like Javonte Williams in the past who you get really excited about, and then this injury affects them for multiple years. It's obviously a different injury than what Skattebo's going through, but he's right now at RB20 in this ranking. And I guess I'm just wondering like what the thought process is behind ranking a player like this who has been so fun, but as a rookie already has this gruesome injury.
I think he probably would have been ranked right around where we have Quinshon Judkins right now, which is running back 10 in Dynasty. And just seems like that's fair. Judkins, another guy who's really impressed in his rookie season. You've got to give Skattebo a little bit of a hit, I guess, for the injury, unfortunately, because some guys just, aren't quite the same. And we've seen that it's kind of taken Chris Godwin a long time to come back from a similar injury, and he's dealing with kind of a setback right now. But the way Cam Skattebo is, if anyone's going to like rehab like a maniac to get back and be ahead of schedule and everything, it's this guy. So hopefully he's ready to go, if not at the start of the 2026 season, early in it. But yeah, just always a hard guy. Always hard to triangulate the value of someone like that when you have to factor in a major injury like this to a guy who was on a great trajectory otherwise.
I want to actually look at the top of the wide receiver position here. Again, normally I recognize that these conversations are a little less helpful because people just know that these guys are really good. Jaxson Smith-Njigba has jumped all the way up to wide receiver 3 in these rankings. And he's not far behind. Ja'Marr Chase, his trade value is an 83. Puka is a 79. JSN is a 78. So he's not even like far behind wide receiver 1 range. He's been amazing this year. Like if not for Jonathan Taylor, you could make a very compelling case that he should be offensive player of the year in the NFL. Huge breakout, immediate chemistry with Sam Darnold. JSN has been awesome. Would you really according to this chart, would be willing to trade CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson straight up to receive JSN? Is that how you feel, Fitz?
It is how I feel now. I think we have to consider Jaxson Smith-Njigba in that elite tier. Like it's not just a knee-jerk reaction to a really good start. He has, I think, the biggest target share of any wide receiver in the NFL, and is like just his yards per route run number is just ridiculous. So some guys with a lot of volume, like it sort of affects their efficiency. They're not as efficient. And a lot of the time the high efficiency guys are the guys who have lower target counts, like Keon Coleman last year, who was like, crazy double-digit yards per target and high yards per route run on not a lot of routes. But like the high usage, this guy just gets open so easily. He and Darnold have a great connection. Like there's kind of no doubt in my mind after what he has put on film this year about how good Jaxson Smith-Njigba is. Like I kind of feel the same way I feel about Puka watching him, just a guy like when Puka had first burst onto the scene, there's always a little bit of skepticism, like, oh, is this going to keep up? Is this going to keep up? And then you just keep watching him and he does it week after week after week. Well, JSN's kind of there now.
It's funny that you mentioned Puka because he's the other guy I was going to bring up. I am the low guy on Puka in Dynasty, and it is not at all a reflection of him as a player when he's on the field. I think you could argue he should be number 1. as somebody who has rostered him in multiple dynasty leagues, I think there have been more weeks where he leaves the game looking hurt than there are where that doesn't happen. And because the position is so strong, there are these other elite names like JSN, like Justin Jefferson, like CeeDee Lamb, like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, it is very hard for me to put him at number 2 ahead of the other kind of 5 names. I think there's a pretty easy top 6 for me. Maybe would have been more if not for injuries to like Malik Neighbors or whatever. For me, the top 6 is Chase, Puka, JSN, Jefferson, Lamb, Amon-Ra. I would have Puka at the end of that just because I have the least confidence in his health, because he has actually missed time and it's always something different. It's not like he has this one thing that is nagging that if he ever gets over it, he's going to be good. He plays so recklessly, which is part of what makes him fun to watch. And I respect him. He's extremely tough, but it makes me so nervous that every single game, this cornerstone of my dynasty team is walking off the field grimacing, is getting blood wiped off his face, is going into the x-ray room to have x-rays done on his chest. It is always something. And then you add in the fact that his quarterback could retire any offseason here, and who knows what that succession plan looks like. For Sean McVay will probably figure it out, but those two factors combined, like, I would rather have the safety of another one of these elite receivers instead of having Puka ranked as, right now, he's not even tied. He is sitting alone as wide receiver 2 in these rankings, and I just can't get there. And I recognize that I'm the low guy at FantasyPros on Puka, and it is solely because of health.
I totally understand that. And the quarterback thing, you mentioned that, like, that maybe is a viable concern because this could be the end for Matt Stafford after this year. So totally get it. When you play like a warrior, sometimes you're gonna fall on your sword, I guess, and it happens to Puka sometimes. I understand, but man, like the production he gives you, and dynasty
it's
leagues
awesome.
are typically full point PPR leagues, and man, in full point PPR, just delivering the double-digit catch games left and right. I mean, he is just such a weekly difference maker when he is in your lineup.
No argument for me in the lineup. It's awesome.
I get it. I totally get it, though.
Yeah. A lot of the receivers, obviously, like, it's like Rashee Rice moves up a bunch. It's clear why. He's now back on the field and producing like a wide receiver 1. That's very obvious. He's up to wide receiver 9 in these rankings. I don't know that a ton stands out to me as like, oh, that's making me raise my eyebrows. Why do you have this person here? I did want to ask you about Travis Hunter. Not like there's any big changes here. It looked like he was on the precipice of maybe a second half of the rookie season breakout. He had the best game of his career in that London game against the Rams before the bye. And then he goes on IR late in the week before the weekend and is now gone for, at least a few more weeks. And, Lawrence continues to struggle in Jacksonville. And he's a very interesting person to try and, I think wide receiver 26 is probably wrong, but I don't know which direction he should move in.
Yeah, so depressing that coming off that 14 target, 8 catch, 101 yard, 1 touchdown day against the Rams in London. And maybe that was the product of the game script. The Jaguars were in a big hole, had to chase all game, but it was just fun to see Travis Hunter be really involved in the Jacksonville passing game, and I was looking forward to seeing more of that to get a better handle on his dynasty value, and then a practice injury during the week. So that was really depressing. Yeah, I mean, do you feel like it's the right place to put him, though? Like right behind?
Yes, even though I don't think that's where he ends up, I think it's a fair placeholder for him.
I agree. Kind of a Daniel Jones type situation where it could be a lot higher or a lot lower than this. But I guess what encouraged me was the commitment to using him at wide receiver recently, because, my fear all along was that he was going to not be playing the sort of snap shares that you need to be a difference maker in fantasy, which was kind of the case early in the season where he was playing roughly 2/3 of the offensive snaps in every game. But the last couple of games, big uptick in his offensive snap shares. And hopefully we get to see a stretch run with him doing that, where he is primarily a wide receiver. Throw him in there in dime packages if you want, fine, on defense. But mostly we want to see this guy wide receiver.
Last question on receivers. Are there any receivers on this list that you would, if I made you pick one that you think is going to move up the most in value between now and the next time we talk in the first week of December?
Between now and December, that's an interesting one. I think here's one. Jayden Reed. And this isn't just my Packer homerism, but right now he's wide receiver 51 for us in Dynasty. He's going to be coming off I think he is on IR. Yeah, so he's going to be coming off IR really soon. The Packers just lost Tucker Kraft to a season-ending ACL injury. Matthew Golden has a banged-up shoulder. Like, I think Jayden Reed is going to be an important possession guy for the Packers, and I think he might start stacking some decent catch totals on a weekly basis, even though Jayden Reed is a guy who hasn't always played full offensive snaps in the past. But I do think he's going to be a really key cog for the Packers down the stretch, and I suspect he's going to be top 40 when we talk in another month. So that would be an 11-spot move or more for him.
Fitz, I don't think we've ever done one of these episodes where I didn't say that the gap between Bowers and everybody else isn't big enough. And I'm going to say it again. The gap between Bowers and everybody else isn't big enough. That's a personal opinion of mine. I adore Trey McBride, and Tyler Warren's been amazing, and Tucker Kraft was incredible before getting hurt. The gap's not big enough. Brock Bowers is a legitimate difference maker, and the only tight end that I would take in the first round of a startup draft, even if it wasn't tight end premium. That's how good I think he is, and how good I think he's going to be for the next decade.
Yeah, Worm, you were not at the Fantasy Football Expo this summer, but this was this was more of a redraft conversation, in fairness, but I was arguing with about 6 people. It was like I was John Wick at this bar, like fighting off the throngs, insisting that Brock Bowers was the tight end one, and everyone was saying it was Trey McBride. And I just couldn't believe that. When you watch those guys play, like, Trey McBride is really good, but man, like, Brock Bowers is just a different species. When he caught that pass on the crosser and scored on that touchdown, he was like a bullet train picking up speed when he had the ball in his hands. Like, this guy moves differently than so many of the other guys who are on the field with him.
You were like the meme of, I think it's from Tangled, where the main male character is like sitting there and all, has his opinion, and everybody has the swords around him. And it's like, what opinion has you like this? Yeah. Like that was you. Sounds like at the Expo.
Like,
yeah.
Like that should be a controversial opinion that Brock Bowers is the tight end one. Come on.
Yeah. Elsewhere at tight end, I mean, Tucker Kraft, clearly, like, it's very different if you're a win now team, but I think even with the injury, he is cemented inside the top 5 and shouldn't move down. Like, he is, like, if you are a not a contending team this year, go trade for Tucker Kraft. Like, I saw all I needed to see. He's just a stud dynasty tight end moving forward. That it's a huge bummer that he's out for the rest of the season, but I am just like over the moon about leagues where I have him for the long term. Colston Loveland doesn't change here. Obviously he had his big game over this past weekend. Maybe could be a second half breakout where a month from now he starts to look a lot higher. We see it for rookie pass catchers all the time. Usually you say rookie receivers, but if he becomes kind of this receiving tight end for Chicago here in the second half of the season, I could see him going up a bit here. Of course, the biggest mover at any position for us, I think it is actually at quarterback, running back, receiver, or tight end, is Oronde Gadsden. He jumps up to tight end 6 here, a 30-point value change. He goes from, I believe, this is a non-tight end premium. He was at tight end 20, 25, 26 maybe. And the value was at 15. And so now his value is 45, which puts him at tight end 6 and closer to tight end 5 than he is to tight end 7. So just a massive leap for Gadsden. Seemingly very deservedly so. No question marks for you about just a fluky hot month. You're a believer that this is legit and he is a top 6 tight end moving forward in Dynasty?
Yeah, because there was a drumbeat of positive reporting about him in training camp, and Jim Harbaugh making some very positive remarks about Gadsden and how impressive he was in the summer. So I totally buy it. And the one thing that we thought was going to be tough for him was the fact that he was playing on this team with Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston. And how is he going to get targets when this team like has, maybe the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL? Well, hasn't been a problem. Like, he is the problem for Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen, apparently, because like their target shares have gone down since Gadsden has started.
Oronde Gadsden is the one who knocks.
Exactly. Yes. That's a good way to put it. And by the way, I just saw there was a poll on Twitter. One of the Dynasty guys said, who would you rather have for Dynasty? And it was between Tucker Kraft, Oronde Gadsden, Colston Loveland, and Harold Fannin. And last I checked, Tucker Kraft was still winning despite the knee injury. So still a lot of positive vibes around him. But yeah, I mean, Gadsden, this rookie tight end class, my goodness, it's pretty terrific. Like, Tyler Warren has slowed down a bit lately, but man, like, he is going to be a core tight end for years to come. Gadsden looks great. Loveland is coming on. Fannin has been a pleasant surprise. Mason Taylor contributing. Even Elijah Arroyo has looked pretty good at times. So, yeah, I mean, everyone was really excited about the running backs, but the tight end class was really good too.
5 guys in the top 16 in this chart, 4 in the top 13, or excuse me, 6 in the top 16. I'm sorry, I did that math right. It's 6 in the top 16, 5 in the top 13, and 4 of the top 9 are rookies. That's how much of a position shakeup we have seen with this rookie class. So I would expect those will continue to only look better and better as we get throughout the rest of the season. Reminder for everybody about the Trade Analyzer. You can evaluate trades with confidence using FantasyPros Trade Analyzer. Instantly see the impact of trades on your team and get expert recommendations. Whether you're making a 2-for-1 deal or swapping a couple draft picks for that stud who will help you win now, the Trade Analyzer will help you optimize your roster and make smarter decisions. Try the Trade Analyzer today at fantasypros.com/myplaybook and dominate your league. We will get out of here on that. For you, Fitz, I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.